let's talk about some re-signings to begin with. Um, and Charles Harris is the one that I will start with. Um, Charles Harris last year was a guy that we signed to a smaller deal, 1 year deal, prove it deal type, to play, outside linebacker for us in our 3-4 scheme. And he ended up playing really well. I believe he had 7 or 7.5 sacks this year. And that was not even playing a huge percentage of snaps because he was playing a lot, but we did have Trey Flowers and Romeo Aquara playing his position last year. So he was, kind of fighting for snaps in a way with those two guys. And as we saw, we traded away cut Trey Flowers. Not traded. I wish we traded him. But we cut Trey Flowers. And I think that really helps Charles Harris because then he's going to get more snaps and he'll have more production. But we signed him to, I believe it was a 2 year, $14 million deal. So he gets 7 million per year. So basically $1 million per sack that he
I
had
thought it was
last year.
210.
It
It
was
was
210.
214. I
Oh,
thought it was
okay.
210,
We'll see.
but it might be
I'll look it up.
214.
I'll look that up because I'm not 100%. So I'll clarify that. But either way, Charles Harris, I love the deal. And I love it even better if it was 2 for 10 because that's 5 million per for a guy that I think, kind of could have got 7. Um,
I mean,
but
it's just $2 million in savings. It's
yeah,
not that big.
yeah, it's not a lot, but when it comes down to it, that's another player.
Yeah.
So it was actually 2 years, 13. So
Okay.
we were both,
Cutting right in the middle.
yeah, got it right there. But I like the signing and I like keeping guys in house that proved it last year. We signed a lot of guys last year on deals that were, like I said, 1 year prove it deals for guys that hadn't necessarily broken out yet. Guys that, like
Yeah.
Charles Harris, he was a first round pick. He needs to get some snaps in a good scheme uh and a good culture like Detroit is now to, really get his to get to his full potential pretty much.
Yeah.
And the next one we got was we signed wide receiver Josh Reynolds to an extension. And I believe this one was a 2 year, $12 million deal, but
Mhm.
it's really, I think it's like a 2 year, $6 million ish in guarantees. So I mean, he gets 2.5 million year one, in guarantees and against the cap. So he's only, accounting for 2.5 million against the cap. And then year two, I think it's about the same in guarantees. So that's a really good deal for us as well. And that's a guy that came on late. Um, and with Jared Goff, I mean, he played with him in LA. So that's a great thing to,
Yep.
keep that continuancy going throughout his career because he's a guy that, came on. And I think a lot of people attribute, Jared Goff's success at the end of the season to Josh Reynolds, being added to the roster because that was right around the same time Jared Goff started really, turning it up and making some stuff happen. So I
Yeah.
really like that signing as well. And that was another guy that was productive, kind of like a prove it. We got him on waivers, so it was a little different than the Charles Harris situation, but I like it in the same aspect that it's a low it's a low money deal for a guy that could potentially be, I mean, Charles Harris could lead our team in sacks and Josh Reynolds could, I don't know, potentially lead our team in receiving yards. I could see that, depending on what we do in the draft. Cause I mean, if we draft another one too, then we got some guys fighting for spots. So, with the next guy that we signed, or actually we'll start with re-signings. We'll keep going with the re-signings. But speaking of, re-signings, Tracy Walker was probably my favorite one out of all of these. Tracy Walker, his deal was, a little bit more than both of these guys. He got about 8.3 per. But I still like it. I mean, he's right around 18th ranked safety in terms of money. So I like that deal.
Yeah. I like it. And then we have Alex Anzalone, right? He
Yep.
resigns.
Alex Anzalone resigned as well.
And then Khalif Raymond.
Khalif Raymond re-signed as well, and he re-signed a 2 year deal, which was nice, as well. And we re-signed Evan Brown to a 1 year deal. There was a lot of exclusive rights free agents that we re-signed as well.
Yeah.
Jack Fox, probably the biggest one out of all of them. And then in terms of re-signings, I think that's it. or no, we re-signed Tim Boyle and David Blau as well. And people are
Yeah,
pretty mad about these. Personally, I don't love it. Like it to me says, okay, we're just cool with the quarterbacks we had last year. We're kind of staying the same in that we're gonna keep Jared Goff. Most likely, we got Tim Boyle, we got David Blau. Um, I just don't love giving, the guaranteed 2 million, or I'm sorry, we guaranteed 1.5 million to Tim Boyle and we're giving him 2.5 million. I just don't love the money. For me, I just don't think he's a legit backup to me. I think he's like a third string guy. And
yeah,
like a low end backup, in my opinion.
yeah.
Um,
And like I agree there. The Boyer and Blau signings, like the more I think about it, the less problem I have with it. Just because
yeah,
like I think the Lions are probably gonna draft a quarterback at some point in this draft. And so to me it really just looks like a competition for the third spot, which
yeah,
both of those guys are developmental quarterbacks anyway. So I assume that Boy will win that job just because of the guarantee. But
right,
um, it's not like a bad option for like your third string quarterback. And like
yeah.
if it is going to be your second string quarterback, then it's pretty that Jared Goff doesn't get hurt. But um, you
My
know,
problem with it really, other than the Tim Boyle thing, was they showed that they don't believe in David Blau last year. They proved that in literally not letting him play. Like they did everything they could do to not put this guy in the game. And if that's the case, why keep him? I guess he's a good locker room guy, but I just don't know.
yeah, he there's a lot of like third string quarterbacks that are really tight with like the starting quarterback or kind of know the playbook super well,
Yeah,
so they like can help um the offensive system, especially since you guys have a new offensive coordinator. That might be something that's good. I mean,
yeah,
there's a lot of reasons why like a third string quarterback would be resigned, even though it doesn't play.
right. And I mean, like I said, I don't hate them, and they're two signings you don't really weigh too heavily anyway, because it's not a lot of
Yeah,
money and it's not a position that matters too much, especially on a team that's not, playoff bound. If you were a playoff bound Super Bowl team, you'd be like, okay, we need to get a good backup just in case, our starter goes down. But moving on to guys that we've just straight up signed in the free agent market, we'll start with a defender in Mike Hughes, the corner from Kansas City. I personally love the signing. He was a former first round pick. It's a lot like the Charles Harris signing. We got him for 1 year, 3.5 million. He can play corner or outside and slot. He
yep.
was productive last year in Kansas City. Was a top 10 cover corner per Pro Football Focus. And like I said before, I don't put too much into that, but it's nice to see, that a guy's getting ranked highly on something like that with a deal so low as what we gave him. And he's a guy that, like I said, is a former first round pick. He's gotten a couple of chances, but I believe he was picked in by Minnesota the
Yep.
first time, correct? And then he was traded to Kansas City.
Yeah, so he got drafted to Minnesota. I think he had a pretty decent rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
Then he like fell off
Yeah,
completely.
yeah,
And then Minnesota needed to upgrade the cornerback spot, so he traded him to Kansas City.
yeah. And
He
I mean,
rebounded quite bad.
he's only 25 too, so it's
Yeah,
it's and it's a 1 year signing. We already have Okuda and Omani, so if he's not the greatest corner ever, it's not like it's a big deal because
right.
we only gave him a little bit of money and we already have a couple good corners. So
It
I
was
mean,
1 for 3, right?
yeah, 1 for 3.5, I believe. Which either way, I mean, it's a pretty good deal.
It's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, for us. And then another one on the defensive side is linebacker Chris Board, which a lot of people are like, who? And this is a guy that played a
He's
lot
a
of, huh?
he's a fast special teamers from Baltimore, right?
Yeah, yep. He and he's not just a special teamer. That's the thing. I
Yeah.
think in around the league, or well, not around the league necessarily, but rumors are that the Lions believe he will come in and possibly be their starting inside linebacker. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know necessarily how good he is because he played limited snaps actually at the linebacker position. He's more of like a special teamer,
Yeah.
like you said. But when he did play, he played okay. He's only 26. He's solidly, he's an athlete. I feel like we could coach him up and he could play pretty well. But I also think we'll draft somebody too to play that inside linebacker spot because really right now we got Derek Barnes, Anzalone, and Chris Board. And I would like to add another
And
solid player.
the rumors are that he's gonna play inside.
I mean, yeah, because what we the what we're gonna run, we have the like we talked about before, it's a 4-2-5.
Go to Raphael.
Yeah, so he's gonna probably play that inside linebacker, one of those inside linebacker positions.
I mean, that makes sense. The only issue that I have is that he's relatively like fast, and so I would think that like a edge rusher outside linebacker type role would probably be more beneficial. Something like Kyle Van Noy, where
Right.
it's like kind of a pseudo middle linebacker, but like
And that could be
um
too. He could do a
I
little bit of
like
both.
don't hate it honestly.
Yeah. And we don't know the numbers on that yet.
Yeah.
And then the last, but probably the biggest signing, in my opinion, of this free agency for the Lions, wide receiver DJ Shark. We signed him to a 1 year, $10 million deal. But I'll tell you what, I follow him on Instagram, and with all the stuff he posts constantly on his story, I think he'll be in Detroit for a long time. He just seems like the type of player that will re-sign here for like a 3 year, 35 or $40 million deal or something like that. He'll get 12, 15 per, but he'll be a very, very good player for us. He's relatively young. He's 6'4". He runs a 4.4, 4.3.
Yep.
I feel like it's exactly what we were wanting. I mean, he's 25 years old, and like I said, he's 6'4", runs a 4.3, 4.4 ish, somewhere in there. And he has the big play threat, the deep passing threat, but he also has the big body that we needed with Amon-Ra St. Brown and I guess TJ Hawkinson's our big body too, but at receiver, we really needed that big guy.
But one of the major like concerns I had with the Lions wide receiver core was that like a lot of them are predominantly slot wide receivers,
Yeah.
like we talked about earlier in the pods. But DJ Chuck is not. He's a 6'4" kind of get up and catch it kind of guy. So
Yeah.
I really like the deer. I think that like I had him over Allen Robinson on my wide receiver free agency board. So I think it was really good get for the Lions as long as he stays. I also
Yeah.
think that like he's primed for a breakout. So
Yeah.
I really like it for the Lions for what they got.